Do we have Anakin reincarnated?
Welcome to Time Sweeps.
And we're back.
Just sit still.
Welcome back to the Time Sweeps place. We watched another movie, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this movie
I did
really
too.
well.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one more than the first one.
I thought it was better than the first one.
It's
absolutely.
much better than the first one.
And I think that because there was way more to lose for the characters that we're following.
Yeah, it's not a rehash of a story we already know. Like, granted, cliches exist for a reason.
Yeah.
And this one has its own.
Because people like them.
Right.
Yeah.
They work.
Yeah.
It's storytelling. You can't just tell a new story. There's going to be a cliche somewhere.
Right.
And in this one, it's different kinds of cliches that bring a little more life than just reverse Pocahontas.
Right. And this movie kind of moved the camera back from the parents and kind of focused a little more on the children that were introduced.
New characters.
They were very much focused. This movie was very much focused on the kids and their journey as they're growing up. And I think in the next movie, we're going to have that refocus in on the parents. Maybe.
Because I think we're going to lose one of them, maybe.
I think, yeah. I mean, surely we're not going to have all of them through the whole thing.
Right.
But yeah, so the movie opens up and they're living their life in the forest.
We get like a rehash of what happened in the first movie.
Which is good because this movie...
It's been 10 years. Over 10 years.
It's been closer to 15 years.
2009.
I thought it was 2008.
2009.
I think it's 13 years then, to be exact.
Damn, 2009 was 13 years ago.
Yep, my brother's 14.
Your brother was 1 year old when Avatar came out?
Yep.
What the hell?
Yeah, imagine that. When he was born, Iron Man just came out.
God.
And people at work give me shit sometimes because they're like, oh, specifically one person, because I mentioned the movie Ghost Rider, and I was like, oh, I was in kindergarten when that came out. And they, like, stopped what they were doing and walked off. Like, they were done. It's like, well, can't help it now. I'm bigger than you, and I'm younger. I don't know what you want.
Yeah, like, I told someone that I was like, I said to someone one time, I was like, yeah, I'm slightly pre-9/11. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like,
You're pre-9/11.
You grew up without the
Post
tragedy in
9/11.
your life.
Yeah. It's
well, like I said, because I was born August 3rd, 2001. So I said I'm slightly. I don't remember it, but I was
there.
technically there.
Oh, wait, yeah. The way the months
Anyone
work.
who was born into the 2000s did not grow up with that tragedy in their life.
Yeah, if you can't remember 9/11, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's like people that were like, I was born during Pearl Harbor. It's not the same.
No.
Unless you were literally there. That changes a few things, because you literally could have died as a baby. Maybe not at Pearl Harbor, but it's definitely, 9/11.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, moving on from tragedy, let's talk about this fake tragedy. So the humans come back to Pandora
Yeah, they set the
in
forest
full
on
force.
fire.
They full force. These giant ships come down and they just completely desolate this part of the forest that they land in. And we see Neytiri having a big struggle with this because apparently she's even struggling to kill animals now because she just loves the forest, apparently. Which,
That's where they live. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like they are literally attached to it.
right.
Symbiotic relationship. Or just literally attached to it.
Yep. And then we fast forward 1 year after they land. And we learn that they have done more in that 1 year than they did with the
In the
entire
past 30.
Yeah, in the entire time the humans were there before, which
They've made new facilities, brought new armies, made new technology. Because I'm also not exactly sure how the time adjustment changes between where they are, where Earth is, and how much time is going by on every stance.
yeah, I don't know how much time passes in this movie.
It's not
It's
exactly
pretty unclear.
between the two planets. That is, they're clear on what happens on Pandora, but not off planet.
Right. Well, we finally got an answer for why they're so persistent on coming back here, other than natural resources. It's because Earth is dying.
Yeah, so it's not just a matter of taking the resources back to Earth. It's making a new Earth.
It's preparing them. It's preparing this planet for humans to come live there, which I don't think's smart. I think if they can find Pandora, they can find a planet where they could breathe the air that's there.
Right. Like, with the
So-
knowledge that we have, there's a bunch of exoplanets that we could literally live on.
Right.
Why is Pandora the one that they're set on?
I don't know. Maybe the whales. Maybe the whales are the reason.
Which would make infinitely more sense because there's space whales
They're
in this
space
movie.
whales.
You see them in the trailer,
Mhm.
but it's not prepared for when they just drop a line that almost means nothing of just like, oh yeah, there's a chemical inside them that lets humans basically live forever.
Just stop aging.
Stop aging. That's the same thing.
Yeah, but from my understanding, they could still they still died. Like they could still die.
Like if you if you shoot someone.
Right.
That's not the same as living forever. That's invulnerability. Those are different things.
Or immortality.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so
Like Dracula can live forever hypothetically, but he can still die from getting a wooden stake or anything porous in his chest.
yeah.
It's that kind of principle. You can still kill it. You can still kill
And my
Superman.
thing is like, why don't those guys who are hunting the whales have that? Like, have just dripped a few drops in their.
Right. You think the supply... I guess you don't taste your own supply. I don't know. It seems like everyone on Pandora would already have some of that because it's like, how much of it do you get from one of them whales?
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty big whales.
And going back though, we find out how the general is still alive.
Yeah, the general is back.
The general is alive.
Quidditch.
And he's
Quidditch.
General
Quadrich.
Quidditch.
Quidditch. We're just going to call him Quidditch.
I think it's Quidditch.
I thought it was like Quatch.
General Crotch.
General Crotch.
He
I
is
think
a
it's
crotch.
Quidditch.
But basically, he's not. His body is not alive. But
Right,
they
he-
transferred his consciousness.
No, it's a carbon copy. It's really not even the same guy.
It's a
the way
download
they
of
did.
his
It's like a
brain.
clone.
It is two different people.
They
Cloned the neural pathways in his head, essentially, or
Yeah.
mapped them out so that way they could remake them.
Quidditch.
Quidditch?
Quaritch. Quidditch.
Quidditch.
General Quidditch.
Colonel.
Screw you, Cameron,
Colonel.
and making weird
Colonel.
names.
Yeah, that's like,
Well, Vin Diesel's in this movie. Where?
yeah, what? Don't tell me he's the whale.
He's just on the cat.
It just says Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
He's the whale. Vin Diesel's the
Goddamn
whale.
it, Vin Diesel.
Who
just
is
is-
Vin Diesel?
It doesn't say.
It only
It just
says Vin Diesel.
Maybe he's in everything.
Wait, just search Vin Diesel Avatar 2.
But yeah, there's a lot of throwaway lines that raise more questions about what's going on. And there's a lot of stuff that just happens in the movie that's like, okay, it makes sense how you padded this out for time, and it actually flows rather evenly. There's a lot of times that these movies become so long from these older directors, and it's just, it could have been shorter, but in this case it really is padded out and it makes sense and it takes its time in like a good way.
No, he's not in the movie.
So why is he? Yeah, it's
I don't know.
Google.
It's Google.
Google does this all the time.
What were you saying?
The length of the movie, it actually works to its advantage.
I didn't feel
how
like
much
we were sitting in there that long.
Right.
Yeah, I was very captivated in the story, and time was going by.
like the Batman. It's a
Uh-huh.
2.5 hour long movie, but like sitting there, gone in an instant.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you're sitting there enjoying it. There's a lot of movies, and it just becomes a chore to sit there.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of directors end up doing that. And
Like
it's like
the Snyder Cut.
Snyder Cut, Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's not everything can be the extended cut of Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
which ends up being like 4 hours long, but you can still watch it.
Yep.
It's amazing what happens when the scenes end up working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we at in the movie? So we find
Still
out
kind of just at
Quidditch
the
is
beginning.
alive, and then so he makes the executive decision that they're gonna be like the people there. They're not gonna like.
Well, there's a little bit between him making that decision. Like, he says that they have to learn and speak and walk like that, but he still like is kind of reserved to the way that he's doing it until they meet up with Jake Sully's family later on.
Right. I
When-
forget the kids' names too. The only one I know is Kiri
Yeah, Kiri and Spider
and Spider.
and Took, I think, was the littlest one's name. Started with a T.
It's took.
Is it Took? I don't remember the two boys' names. Jake Sully has like, what is that?
4 kids.
He has 4 kids, and then there's this human kid that was left on planet because when most of the humans left,
and
he couldn't be
yeah.
cryostasis.
we find out that
He is
his
Quidditch's
son.
which was never mentioned in the first movie. This child did not exist
No.
until this movie.
Yeah.
But they basically make like a Tarzan kid.
Yeah, and like Jake kind of takes him under his wing, and Neytiri is not like him.
Yeah, she is very much like he's a human.
Yeah, like he
And
doesn't.
it's like
belong
he's
here.
literally a child, but like
But I'm fine with Norm and that doctor guy. They're cool.
yeah, and it's like really
But they're kind of not around though,
true.
and she's kind of like not cool with them though. She's
She,
like,
the only
like
other
she has a
kids though that
mutual
he could
respect
be
for them.
around was his. So it's like I think it's fair. She's just a racist, which is fair, seeing like how many humans
kinda
like,
like a
boarded
weird-
her planet and shit.
It's kind of like a weird thing going on between Kiri and Spider. We
Yeah,
kinda find
inter
out.
like interspecies relationship ish crush thing.
Are you gonna bring up your thing?
So yeah,
'Cause we're
it seems
kinda
like a
at
good
that point
time.
in the
Yeah. So
movie.
we see like Sigourney Weaver's avatar in the
from
tube.
the first one, the one that her actual avatar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like her avatar, because it gave birth to Kiri. Unexplained, doesn't have a dad.
I think it's AWA.
Yeah, we're
it's-
gonna get
My
to that
theory is that the baby's father is AWA herself. Okay,
because
so
like they tried
her
putting
other
her on
mom.
the tree and
right.
there's a bunch of stuff
I
there.
think it was like I can't. AWA was like I can't do that, but
have
baby.
have a baby.
baby.
Because it said it almost took a year, or
Right.
like 9 months.
But maybe
essentially.
that's just their normal cycle.
right. It takes a
Because
little
the se-
longer.
because now all species are like humans, right?
right.
Yeah.
Like some things give birth in like a year
I think
or two,
well,
like a year and a
I
half.
know a giraffe's like 13 months or something, or
Right.
14.
It takes
and
a
then
while.
like a possum's like 2 months. So,
Well, granted, the
but it's
pregnancy
marsupial,
process,
yeah, it's
they're
marsupial,
weird.
But
Kangaroo is technically pregnant for like a month.
right,
And then it has like the pill-shaped little fetus inside the pouch.
right, marsupial. Gotta love them marsupials. You know what I'm saying?
Excuse me. I love marsupials.
I
That's a-
just
that's
want
a-
to know how the hell a possum got here, but that's a discussion for another
Yeah,
time.
I can talk about marsupials for a full episode. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week we talk about marsupials.
We go out into nature and we just start picking up possums and bring them onto the
I know
show.
where we could possibly go to grab one.
Go on. We'll talk about
We'll
it
talk
later.
about it later.
We'll talk about it later. Possums, anyway. Pin in that.
Pin it.
Yeah. And then we get to, Kiri being born. She's born in the tube. We don't know her father, all that kind of stuff. It's Sigourney Weaver playing the kid, doing the voice, doing the mocap. It looks like Sigourney Weaver younger. Like, literally someone put a comparison picture, and I was like, oh, it literally does just look like Sigourney Weaver, but as a teenager.
Yeah, I don't know why I took that. You having to see that to put.
No.
because, like,
That's
me-
not the thing. I could see it, but, like, when you put the pictures together, it's like you could really see
Oh.
it, but the voice, to me, did not
The
sound
voice
like her.
sounded just like her to me. Because that's what I was talking to you after the movie. Was like, I wish they pitched her voice up some to make her sound more like a kid. Because I just heard her from. Like,
To me, it didn't sound like Sigourney Weaver because it sounded like a voice that just didn't sound like her normally.
I mean, they probably doctored it some.
Granted, she's also been over 50 years old for 30 years.
She's not that old.
She's like 75, so it's been like 20 years.
No, I think
She's
in her
75, I swear on
Is
my
she
life.
Really? That's good
At
for
least
her.
72. Yeah, and she did all the mocap for this movie for her character. And I think there was just a few stunts that were like, she
She's
didn't
73.
do. 73?
Yeah, that's wild. Good for her. She looks good for 73.
She's older than Bill Murray, I know that. Bill Murray just turned like 71, and he looks awful.
He looks terrible.
He looks like
It's
a
'cause he's a
corpse
man,
sometimes. I don't even think it's that. I think it's that he did a lot of drugs in the 70s and 80s.
But like just
a lot of
it's like when
cocaine.
it's like women will age older. I mean, they'll look older, but then like you get that 70 mark, and then men just start falling apart.
I think it depends on the person. Like Arnold looks pretty all right.
Yeah, but he was a fitness person for the
Right,
majority of his
but
life.
there's still like there's a lot of factors into this. Bill Murray did a lot of
I'm just
drugs.
saying for the average Joe walking across the street, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, Kiri, and she's adoptive to the Jake Sully family because who's gonna raise her? A tube.
Yep.
But there's this
Tube.
close-up shot on the tube. like it was a really awkward close-up shot in my opinion because they just cat nipple just across the camera, then on Jake Sully's face. That was the transition. Just rolling tube lady, nipple, Jake Sully.
Her face was in the shot.
After a second,
The nipple. Her
zooms
face was
in
more in
right-
the shot than her nipple was.
no, it was not. It was boob, cat boob. But it got me thinking throughout the movie because it's like you never see a regular Na'vi person's nipple.
Probably because they cover them.
But some of them don't. You can see them in the background, or sometimes their necklace moves and it's not there. My point is, I think because of like the mutation of like having the fingers, because the human DNA,
Or maybe
they have more noticeable
maybe,
nipples.
Or maybe it's more noticeable when they're pregnant.
Maybe that would also make
Maybe
more
it
sense
forms when they're pregnant.
because it's
What if
like
it just appears.
getting ready to like feed the child.
Because
and
they
shit.
have one, they have to have a reason to have boobs,
right, and they
two,
have
they
hair,
to-
so they're similar to mammals.
They're mammals, and they give live birth, and they have to feed their baby somehow.
My point is though, we have never seen a Na'vi person's nipple, but we have seen an Avatar's nipple.
The only person who can freaking
I want to.
explain this is Jim Cameron. So like,
Yeah, I'm gonna write an open letter to James Cameron and explain the nipples.
Explain to me the nipples.
Do they have nipples and I just haven't seen them, or is the avatars have nipples while these ones have a different form of working?
Well, do we see the boys' nipples?
Sometimes.
We saw Jake's nipples.
See my point.
Did the green guy have nipples?
Did the green guy have nipples?
I
Pull him
don't
up.
What's his name?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Just pull up Way of Water and see how many promo pictures come up and they have nipples.
Green guy, Way of Water.
But yeah, that was on my mind through most of the movie, and I was like, now wait a second, because it like to me it was like we saw it on an IMAX screen.
Jake doesn't have nipples.
He doesn't have nipples.
No, Jake does not have nipples. In this
Man,
movie.
I need some explanation
And
to
it-
this nipple
Well,
stuff.
they just evolved past humans because men don't really need nipples, do they?
Well, yeah, no, they don't. However, it's much easier, evolutionary speaking, to just be like, here's some pieces.
Here's some pieces.
Take it or leave it.
Jake does not have nipples in this shot. Clearly, no nipples.
There is no nippage in this shot.
There is no nippage. Maybe only the girls have nipples. You know what I'm saying?
But we don't see the other one's nipples. Anyway, it's not the most important thing. That was just something I noticed in the movie because it was like the emphasis to me in a shot of just like, boob.
I don't know.
That's what I remember from that shot in that movie.
What I want to know is that can they put other people into different avatars? Like,
What do you mean?
Like, can they put people's souls into avatars? Like, what if they just put someone else into that avatar?
Oh, like,
Or is
because,
it
like,
just
it's an open body?
specifically- Yeah, just specifically because there's a reason they could only
it has to be
transfer
compatible
to that
with
one body.
their,
Right,
It has to be compatible with their DNA.
It has to be compatible because that was the whole thing with Jake Sully stepping in. So in the first movie, there was a different person
Right.
that was supposed to be in
was
that
his
avatar's
brother.
body, his identical twin brother,
Right.
who would have had an identical twin genetics set.
Right.
They were like, well, this works out. You, get in here. And
There's a
Jake
bunch
Sully
of
can walk again because
Videos
he was
on YouTube
paralyzed.
that are surfacing of like scenes that have been cut out of that first movie. Like there's one where Jake gets thrown out of a bar and the wheelchair gets thrown at him too while he's laying on the ground, and two government agents walk up on him, and it's like future Earth.
Huh.
Yeah.
That would have actually been really interesting to see. I think there could have been more emphasis on Earth in the first one, and
Well, I think the whole
Not so much
focus
as
was
wheelchair.
getting off of it.
right, but like, why?
Because
What is
We know
Earth?
that now.
We know that now, but we didn't know that then. I want a reason to know why Earth sucks.
Well, because it's probably hollow now.
But you see my point, though.
Hollow Earth.
It would have created an emphasis on why they are leaving in the first place. And it would have been through showing, not telling. It would have been like, instead of a throwaway line, essentially, in this movie. Well, no, it wasn't a throwaway line. But, like, it's not the whale thing. We would have had the emphasis on why they were doing this before.
Right.
Because beforehand, it was like, resources.
Need them.
Yeah.
We want them.
Well, I forget what the rock was called in the first movie.
Dude, no idea. Pandorium,
It
for
was
all
like
I know.
it was like no, it was like stupid, like impossible or something. It was like dumb.
Impossium?
It was like
Possum. It's made of possums.
No, it was
It's
like
a
it was
brick
like
of
it
possums.
was like, hey, this thing's hard.
condensed.
It was basically like naming like, hey, this rock's really hard to get. Hard to get DM. It was like something like that. It was not that, but it was like something stupid like
unobtainium.
that. It was unobtainium.
Unobtainium.
Unobtainium
That's
was the name of the rock.
Unobtainium.
that's another reason why I think the second one's better than the first one.
It doesn't deal with all the unobtainium bullshit.
All I know is that we're fast forwarding more. So Jake and Natiri have to leave.
Yeah, there's
Well,
like
Jake wants to leave so to keep the tribe safe,
Yeah.
and Natiri's like, nah, bruh. And
she
he's
does
like,
not want to
he's
leave.
like, but what if we leave? And she's like, no. And he's like, but what if? And he's like, she's like, all right, we can leave. And she's really
there is
sad
no
about it.
conversation really. It's just like we need to go, and she's no. But hear me out. We need to go. And she's, Oh, okay.
If we leave, we can protect the tribe. And because she's like, well, because she's like, my dad gave me this bow and said protect the people. And he's like, well, we can't do that if we're here. And she's like, you're right. We gotta go.
Like, we will literally be the death of these people.
Yeah, because like the whole thing is Quidditch is literally hunting Jake, and that they say Jake says that a bunch. He's like, we are being hunted. They're hunting us, not our people. Us.
And then he starts finally, like, halfway through the movie. He's like, they're hunting me,
They're
not
hunting me.
us. So maybe they'll leave you alone
Well,
if I
they're
go.
hunting the parents.
Right.
Because
they want her because he's a
she-
petty.
Yeah,
He's
she
a petty
killed him.
colonel.
Yeah, she killed him.
Which
Yeah.
there's also the really metal shot of just like
Him watching his own death.
watching the video of his own death, picking up the skull of his
own
human
skull.
corpse and just crushing it. And it's
Yeah.
like,
he's like weak.
yeah, we have made like an interesting villain, and then to me, it like from that instance, I feel like it should have escalated more and got like scarier,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't.
No.
He kind of just chills out a little bit, and then he's like, "I have a son." Well, anyway,
My boy? You're not my boy, but do you want to be?
yeah,
Yeah, like
you're not mine,
you're really not my son. I don't really give a shit about you,
but do
but
you
I
want to
could
be?
give a shit about you. God damn it, Spider.
That's it.
Um,
And Spider was an interesting character,
I don't
who's
know.
also like 14 years old apparently.
All I
in the
know is that
movie.
in the next movie, when he's like an older kid, I want
Isn't
him
he
to like have like
18?
tamed.
I thought he was 14 like Kiri.
Yeah, I thought he was like kind of the same age as the
Oh, gotcha.
the blue.
But he's going to
dudes.
have to be slightly older too because of him being already there
Right.
before they were born.
But my thing is that I want
Who's his mother?
him to like
She dead?
Secretary.
tame one of those flying things and like have to have done it the really hard way.
Yeah.
And, like actually sit down and work with the animal and not just be like, "You're mine, bitch."
Oh, and I rewatched the scene from the first movie.
Of what? Of Jake?
Jake taming one. He puts like a wrap around its face
Yeah,
to pull himself towards it. Quidditch just goes for it.
Well, there's a Spider has a line. He's like, "Oh, did I not tell you you're supposed to wrap the jaw?"
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you
I
remember.
forgot
that
about
now.
that entirely. Like
But, like,
remembering it now, I
yeah,
can hear his voice.
Because he's like, "Oh, did I forget to tell you you're supposed to tie the jaw down or something?" And because then he's like fighting with it, and he looks over, and he's like, "Bitch."
and then they fall off of the cliff.
Yeah.
And then he's fine.
And do you like how much more cool looking his is compared to?
Yeah, no, it's nice. The little subtle thing. Once again, cliches work for a reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I should look up something. Continue talking.
Well, so they make this long journey across the ocean, just trying to get away from where they know they're at. So they make this long trek, and no one likes the. And they do find the sea people, but I think they were headed to the sea people the whole time because Jake knew that they could probably hide there. Knew he could probably hide there.
Yeah.
But I really liked like the whole like message that the girl teaches the boys is that like you start your life and you end your life in the water. Because someone I think it was I forget the actress's name who plays Natiri in Gamora.
Zoe. Yeah.
She talks about how like Pandora's probably like Earth, and the majority of the planet's probably water, right? And like getting to explore that bigger, more vast ecosystem, right? Is I love because I love water. Like one of my favorite games is Subnautica, right?
Yeah.
And that and the water is just so scary to me as a human because I'm
Also-
not supposed to be there, you know.
So there's a lot of Subnautica vibes in the Pandora waters.
Right. Well, I mean, it's supposed to be alien looking, right? So like bioluminescent fish, bioluminescent plants, and like that's just like what Subnautica would build off of, you know. So there's gonna be those aligned, look-alike things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that's was a big point was like to get us kind of uncomfortable, you know, because like humans really aren't supposed to be in water like that, you know. I love the water, like I love swimming in the ocean and stuff, but like, you know, if you're out in the ocean, you know, you're so out of your element. And then they learn how to ride those like cute mount things.
Yeah, the little plesiosaur things.
Yeah, they're like little cute ones. The kids learn how to ride them, and then Jake learns how to ride the big alligator gar looking flying thing, you know. Was there ever a name for those?
I don't remember hearing one.
But yeah, so that's how so Jake's learning how to do his thing because Jake's like, I really don't like. The only thing I can really offer to this place is protection. So I need to learn how to protect this place. And then he's like tells his kids to pull their weight. So, and the tribe leader, I forget his name of the ocean tribe, but he's like has his kids teach Jake's kids how to free dive and stuff. And Curie is the only one who has it easy going here.
Yeah, she's like in tune with the ocean.
Yeah, she's in tune. I think she's just in tune with Pandora.
She has to be.
She's just because she can. She's like doing some weird stuff with the fish. The fish magnetized towards her. Like they
follow her every move.
Yeah, and like the plants light up when she's around them.
She is able to control nature essentially. And we see that to much more extremes throughout the movie.
Right. Well, and before, when they were still in the forest, she was taking a nap in the middle of a grass patch, and the grass
started like breathing with her.
And Spider ran over, and she was like, "It was doing that thing again, was it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then
they had to run away.
Yeah.
And then
Spider got kidnapped there too. We didn't really talk.
Yeah,
about
it was a little bit after that, like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Spider gets kidnapped.
Yeah, Spider got kidnapped by his blue dad, which isn't his dad, but is kind of his dad. But yeah, what'd you look up?
Oh, so I remembered some stuff that like there was an artist that made some paintings in like the 70s, 80s, into the 90s that looked exactly like Pandora. And James Cameron says, "No, this isn't." He like vanquished the family in court. Roger Dean was the artist. He made like a painting called Floating Islands, and it looks just like the Heaven Mountains from
the Hallelujah Mountains.
Mountains. It looks just like them. He even did like these circular rock structure mountains with the floating islands in the background that looked just like Pandora. And he even had flying creatures that looked just like banshees. And Neytiri looks an awful lot like this character from a Marvel comic in the 80s.
What character is that?
I don't remember the name of the character, but the comic was called, Time Spirits.
Do you have a picture of them?
I can show you the Time Spirits one right here. Blue alien cat lady right there in the back. She's just more human face.
No nipples.
Yeah, no nipples on her either. Oh, nope. The one in Marvel has it nipples.
Oh, yeah, nipples.
Zoomed in and there is nipples. So yeah, I'm going to screenshot that so that way we can maybe put these...
Screenshot the nipples?
No.
Oh.
The picture and the title of the comic so that way we can put it into the video later. Because that one I think is a little bit easier to get away with because it's a blue lady with cat face. But these mountains... This is...
Are you accusing Jim Cameron?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
People have been accusing him since 2009.
Damn.
And James Cameron won in court saying that, like, oh, no, I didn't steal. I thought these were paintings of Pandora until I found out that they were made in the 80s.
That one's a little more meh. Like, because Floating Mountains is a much more... Is that one's not as, like, connected as the first picture you showed us.
I think that these are very clearly taken, though.
But because like Floating Mountains is like in a lot of different things.
This entire artist book, essentially, his catalog is stuff that James Cameron then used.
It could be a coincidence.
I don't think that one's as coincidental as the other.
I think the mountains could be though. I don't know. The other one's a little damning, but
I think it's on the money. I think like Roger Dean's work, most of his stuff was fantasy album cover looking stuff that would go on the side of a van. And like it just looks like Pandora constantly to me. And that's all I can think of is when seeing Pandora now is remembering Roger Dean.
Yeah, but that's just that structure, and
that's another one of Roger Dean's pieces. And
yeah, that one not even. I don't think that's connected though. That's a horse and that's a cat.
It's technically a wolf.
Well, the way it looked to me, it had hooves, but I just got a quick look at it.
The waterfalls.
Those are bonsai trees.
They are not bonsai trees.
I don't know. I feel like the most damning one was the
mountains.
The pictures. No, the picture. The archways.
This one.
Yeah, that's the most one that I'm kind of like. Because Floating Mountains, like that's in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
That's not just these two different things.
Right.
That's in a bunch of stuff. I think
but
Avatar:
I think
The Last Airbender
of, like,
has
the
Floating Mountains.
jungles. It doesn't. Not unless you're in the spirit world.
Oh, okay.
And they're still a little bit more different.
Okay. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched that
and
show.
You see them more in Korra.
But the
like
creatures and stuff.
here's a
there's only
spaceship.
so many different types of creatures a human brain can imagine.
Right.
You know. That one's still not like as
I
connected
think it
to
is
me
100%
because
connected.
that doesn't have 4 wings. That's clearly bright.
1 wing, 2 wing, and it's gonna have to have 2 on the other side.
That's all 1 wing, it looks like to me.
That's a second wing. This one's feathered and this one isn't.
Oh. Well, and the Banshees are 100% like sort of reptilian.
Here's a better representation of the same dragon used in the same pose, but in a different painting by Roger Dean. I think that 100%, it is too similar to me. The way that it just lays across the skyline, the way that the colors are, I feel like that this is very representational that James Cameron was looking at this.
That's the
at one
only
point.
picture that you've shown me I'm like, okay, that's pretty damn close. Like the floating mountains, I'm kind of like a little forgiving on.
Okay.
But
The giant super geological structures.
Topic.
This is on topic.
a giant
Connor.
tree would be like,
Not on topic with the movie.
It is on topic with the movie. This is literally about James Cameron's work and art design that went into this movie.
Fair.
But yeah, he got it out of court, and
well, in a giant tree, that's like,
yeah, giant
many
tree.
giant
That's
trees
whatever.
are-
But I think the floating mountains, with the way that the trees look, the jungle format, and everything like that.
those look way more Japanese to me, those trees that you were showing me there. Like the Japanese style, like in an art piece that you'd see in like a Japanese painting.
To me, it reminds me of like these African upside down trees.
That one that was in that last picture you showed us definitely looked like a bonsai tree to me.
But yeah, I think there's an actual case, but James Cameron got it out, so it's whatever.
There's probably a case that could be made, but
Because he's been working on these movies since the 90s. He started writing in 1990 for the first Avatar movie. I think 100% he did some drugs, tripped a little, and then saw these pictures, and it stuck with him. Because this was a popular artist at that time for like that fantasy type sci-fi stuff that James Cameron was into.
Right. I mean, best case scenario, he could have just paid the guy some money, but
He didn't. That's the thing.
That's the thing.
That's what caused the court case.
right.
That
But like,
there was no mention
I
of
don't
name
think
or
that
money.
like that might be a city situation, but I still think these are good stories that are being told.
Yeah, the story themselves. It's just the aesthetics. It's a little much. Also, James Cameron keeps saying stupid things, but that goes off topic to a different thing I'd like to talk about later with James Cameron at the end of the video. He brings Terminator back up and how he wants to make a new one.
I think we should just leave Terminator to the 80s and just never revisit.
Oh, trust me, I'm going to come back to
I
it
know
because it's been bothering me.
Salvation was made in like when?
2011?
Yeah, so
It
I
might
know
have been
there's been, but
2009.
I think we should just leave Terminator to. And I know there's been a more recent one too.
Oh, there's been plenty
Yeah,
of recent ones.
but like I think we should just leave it to the.
They're
old
awful.
movies because they haven't been good since then.
Terminator Salvation's a great one.
I thought it was bad. I
I
thought it was bad. I've never seen it. I
Oh.
thought it was bad.
People
Like,
say
to
it's bad, but when you watch it, it's like, this is great. This makes sense. Because it all takes place in the
Doesn't-
future.
What's his name? Play the main character in that too. The guy who plays Jake Sully. He's like the main guy in that.
Is it him?
I think so.
I thought it was Matt Damon.
No, it's not Matt Damon. I thought it was. I think it was supposed to be Matt Damon, but
So James Cameron and Matt Damon just don't get along then or something?
No. James Cameron didn't direct the Salvation.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't involved.
No. He wasn't involved in 3. Was he involved in 3?
No, God, no.
Yeah, he wasn't involved in 3. He wasn't involved in Salvation. He wasn't really involved in Genesis.
Genesis, he was a producer on Dark Fate,
Yeah.
and that's why Linda Hamilton came back. Once again, this is the off-topic thing that I was wanting to get to later, because it comes back to James Cameron being involved with these movies and how he's like, okay, son, or Grandpa, I need you to sit down.
where are we at?
know.
So they're so then we get so we have the whales get introduced
Mm-hmm.
2 different places. We get them introduced on the human side of stuff, and then we have them be introduced on the Navi.
Yeah.
The Navi side of
The
stuff.
Navi perspective and the human perspective.
So they're very connected to the ocean tribe of the Navi. They're called the
spirit
spirits,
brothers,
spirit
sibling.
Yeah, sibling. Thank you. That's
Everyone has one that they are paired with
right. And,
emotionally.
on the human side, they are picked. They are hunted, but far away from where the Navi are. So there's no.
Yeah, the Navi just think they
can't-
die.
Yeah. So, but they're being hunted because they have a brain juice. That's what I'm going to describe it as. A brain juice that can be harvested and used to stop human aging, and that is literally all they say of it. They're like, this little guy right here can stops human aging for some reason.
It's
I don't know
basically the
why.
spinal fluid that they harvest in nowhere inside Marvel.
Yeah. I don't think that stops human aging. I think that just is
It has a bunch of
a
different
great
effects.
medical.
It does
thing,
all
yeah.
sorts of things. It's a comic cure-all.
Right.
In this case, we know exactly what it does. In other cases, most people are just leave it up to interpretation.
Well, and then Spider's like, you really just leave the rest of this animal just to decompose at the bottom of the ocean? That's
Yeah.
pretty whack.
They don't do anything with it.
No. Well, but they leave this one floating so that they can find it.
Yeah,
because
the whole
they're
purpose
trying
of
to
that.
lure the Na'vi out, because they know they found out where, because they had to go because Kiri had a seizure connecting to the water people's spirit tree, which is a giant reef. It's a giant piece of coral reef looking thing. And she had a seizure connecting to it because honestly think she's just like too connected, and like that just like is too much of a line.
Overloaded.
Yeah, she was just overloaded. And so Norm and the other scientist dude, I forget his name, but I like his character a lot because he's a nice guy. They go out in a helicopter, and they're like, the helicopter was headed this way, but we lost the thing. So
yeah,
we know it's here.
As soon as it got over the ocean, they lost
Right.
trace of the GPS.
So they're like, we know it's in these islands, so let's try to lure him out. And they tried to lure him out by
taking other Na'vi and fighting them.
killing, like not killing any of them, but like burning their villages and
Shooting some of the animals.
Yeah, shooting their animals to try to find Jake, but they weren't having any luck. So they're like, let's kill a whale and see how that does. But the whale they killed is the spirit sister of the head woman in the water tribe. I forget her name too.
And I don't even remember the name of the specific tribe because there was all the different water people.
Right. But she is to that tribe what Neytiri's mom is to their forest tribe.
Right.
Like she's like the healer. She's like what the head girl's supposed to be. Like what probably Neytiri was learning in between the last couple movies.
The head lady.
Yeah.
There's
a name, and there is a name for it. And they talk about it. They say the name in the first movie, but I just don't remember. So they kill that thing and that one, and consequently like kill the baby as well, because the baby just won't leave the mom.
Right. Yeah. The babies. That's the reason why they chose to shoot a mother one anyway. Was because of. It's going to go slower because it has the calf.
It's not going to leave the calf behind.
Right. They won't go faster because they can't leave the calf. So it's an easier one to pick off than like the one at the head of the pack or somewhere in the middle.
And they use exploding harpoons
to get through the armor and actually kill it on the inside.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up.
They shoot balloons through its fins to drag it up to the surface, and then once they get an open shot, and it lifts its tail to try and paddle.
The one that the boy gets with.
Yeah, the second oldest son of Jake Sully
had a harpoon in its fin after it was attacked once.
He pairs with one of these giant whales, which is different because he's also a forest person versus a water person. That causes some trouble with the water tribe.
No, it causes trouble because that one whale was an outcast.
Because there was two areas of the problem being was he's not supposed to talk to that one because of its status, and people were like, it's a murderer one. And he knows that it's not, and they're like, how do you know that? And I was like, well, I connected to it, and they're like, that's a sacred place for our people. You shouldn't even be near one of those things, and here you are going inside of it and connecting to it.
Right.
So that was like where it ended up being like a huge, huge problem. He crossed every red line because he was saying that he was saved by one with a fin, and they were like, no, you're lying. That's impossible. He's an outcast and a murderer. He wouldn't save you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I'm serious. I did the thingy. And they were like, no, you do thingy with him. That's bad.
I didn't see him do the thingy.
He goes inside of him.
Inside the mouth
And
connects to the golden leaf thing.
Gotcha.
That was doing the thingy.
And then it showed him his memories,
Mm.
which was kind of trippy because then you get, like his mom was killed right in front of him because he like rallied the troops to go fight these humans.
Yeah, the whale rallied a bunch of whales to go
Yeah.
fight, and then
A bunch of pacifist whales,
And
because
they
that's the
died.
reason he's an outcast is because
he got them all together.
right. And then they were like, he was like, "Hey, yo, let's go fight."
And there was a
they
few
got
Na'vi
killed,
with
and
him as well.
They blamed him for killing all those whales,
Right.
and which is kind of like messed up.
And they were like, even if he led them to go fight someone, he's still the reason they're dead.
Right.
And they're like, that's not good enough for us. And it's like,
Shut up.
It's like, do you not understand what he was trying to do? And the fact that it's like,
Right.
it's pretty significant. But hey, who am I?
Well, and then the kids go out looking for
The second oldest boy.
yeah.
He runs off to go talk to the whale because
Right.
he's upset, and then the whale has been marked for death with one of the
right,
beacon
with
trackers.
one of the beacon trackers, and then like all the kids are there. Every single kid that's important. All the Jake's kids and all the tribe leaders' kids are there.
Yeah.
And they call, and then of course the boat comes around the corner and scary Avatar. It's like that was the exact same as when they were at the tree before it got burned down, and the warships came around the corner. I don't know if you remember that in the first movie, but it was like the exact same shot, and like I'm sure like that was supposed to be aligned.
I'm not sure if it's supposed to be aligned, but I think it's just an easy shot that James Cameron used to be like
Big scary,
big scary come from behind rock.
Yeah, but I just love that shot. Like,
it works. It's perfect.
and with the music, it's just intimidating. You're like, oh, that's a big ship coming to kill me.
Because like who was it? Oh, he made all like the stop motion monsters and stuff in old movies in like the 60s
I
and
have no
50s.
clue.
Ray Harryhausen. A lot of the monsters would, come from behind a rock or out of the dirt or something like that, and the music would change. It's an easy way to do it.
Right. Or what's it? Michael Myers in that one shot.
Yeah,
From the
when the shape stalks Allison, that music when it kicks on after Mike Myers like appears in the darkness in the 2018 Halloween. It's a successful shot if you know how to pull it off with the right music.
And I feel like he can do it because it works in every time he does it.
There's things that he can still do great.
Yeah.
And there's some things it's like, okay, backtrack.
Like,
what is that?
right. Well, because you have your problems with James Cameron, but like he's like
still
he's
a good director.
Comparing him to like I'd say your least favorite directors, the Snyder Man. Like he's like,
oh no,
leaps
it's M.
and
Night
bounds.
Shyamalan, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan's much worse than Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
I can say that without a doubt.
I hate Shyamalan.
Yeah, he's awful.
Yeah.
And for some reason, he still gets movie deals. It's like, who are you people? Who's contributing
But
to
like,
this?
you can't deny that what James Cameron's doing with these stories is in cinematography is awesome looking, and there's some practical effects in this movie.
To a certain degree.
Like there was a shot where he was like grabbing onto like with the leather thing. Like that was just hands painted blue, like working with the thing in the water. Like when he's riding that thing for the first time.
Oh, gotcha.
And like he wrapped his hand in the leather to try to hold on tighter. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Like
yeah.
obviously the creature wasn't real, but the hands were real people hands.
So, like, how does that apply to the scene where he ends up riding the thing for more than he was trying to wrap his hand around it?
No, that's it.
That's
Like,
it?
That's the practical.
That's not
effects of
effect.
it.
That's just painting your hand blue and wrapping leather around it.
Right, but that's real people. That's real a person.
The reason they did that is because they wanted to get real water. Like they wanted to make it look as real as possible. That's why it took so long to freaking make the water mocap technology, because they wanted to make it look like they were actually in water. So
Because they were actually in water.
exactly.
Yeah. But there was other examples. That was just the first one that came to my mind. I watched the video a couple days ago.
Because a lot of that big boat is partial.
Right. Yeah.
Partial practical.
Mm-hmm. And then where are we at in this movie?
Basically, the last hour and a half, where it's a bunch of fighting and children
Oh,
getting
yeah, they're
kidnapped
going-
over and
yeah.
over and over again.
All the
They break out of handcuffs. They get new handcuffs. They break out of handcuffs. They get new handcuffs. That happens at least 3 times to the littlest kid.
she's like, I can't believe I'm handcuffed again.
And it's like, all right, this is a little self-conscious.
Yeah, this poor kid. But three of the 4 kids get kidnapped and are on the boat, right? It was just the oldest that wasn't.
Yeah, I think it was the oldest son. Curie at that point wasn't kidnapped yet. The youngest child was, and I think the daughter of the tribe chief.
It was the younger son.
Yeah, but I thought the middle child was on the boat too with him, handcuffed, because he was the one that put the gun up to.
Right, he was on the boat. I thought that one was like what I was saying, like
yeah.
pre-established. Like
Okay.
we knew that he for a fact was on the boat.
Right.
Because he's the one that keeps getting into trouble.
Right.
And Jake's like, you're just the problem child.
Right. Haven't you done enough and stuff like that?
Like all
Words
this stuff.
that.
And it's like, it's already the kind of relationship where he makes his kids call him sir.
Right. I mean, he's a Marine.
He's
Like,
a Marine,
I
but
think
at the
they're
same
bringing
time,
that-
it's like,
They're bringing that Marine dad, like, you're going to respect me, you're going to be well behaved, or your ass is grass kind of thing. And, and that's like, they even talk about, like, you're kind of hard on them. He's like, I'm their dad. I kind of have to be.
There's
And
like a point I
think
get
that's
that like
the
from
reason
the
he
they're
was
in a
raised.
war zone essentially,
Right.
and that's where I thought it would be. But I thought there would be a difference in like the conversations. But no, it's just he's really hard on the two sons, and more so the second son.
I feel like that's
Like
just,
they both call him sir,
right.
but like Curie and the youngest child,
Call him dad.
yeah, they call him dad.
But that's just the father dynamic between
No, I
son
hate that.
and son and
It
daughter.
makes me want to
That
punch
happens in
Jake
real
in the
life.
balls. Oh, I know it does. It makes me mad.
Because Jordan
You're no longer
actually
when you
talks-
say sir, you're no longer a father.
Never sir, right? But like Jordan actually talks about like he's glad he got 2 girls because he would have been harder on the boy, just to be like respected, like be respectful. He wouldn't probably no shot. He would have made his son call him sir, but like he says he would have been harder on the boy just because that's how he was raised. He was raised hard, like he had him and his brother and his dad, you know.
So at least like
So
being
he's
thankful
glad
to
he's thankful he got 2 girls because now he's just
changes the way that the
Right.
cycle is.
and that's a lot of men are like that with their kids.
I hate that.
Like
It's a problem.
100 million people. My dad's like that. He was probably harder on me than he will ever be with these 2 girls, you know. And that's also because we have a big old age gap too.
Yeah, that one probably also makes a huge difference because like, what is the age gap between you and the oldest?
11 years. Yeah, he's a whole different man than when he had that kid.
Right, and you were his first, like,
right.
child.
Yeah.
I think that makes a huge difference in like when it comes down to like the perspective of it. But I think that when you have 2 sons in like a war zone, it makes sense that sir is the thing being said.
Well, yeah, and you want them to be safe and smart too.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would have loved it if there was like a home difference dynamic at one point that they say dad, but no, it is only sir or father. And father was from the third person perspective, like when they were talking about him, like when they were away from him.
Right.
So like, and then like the 2 girls were like dad. And the way that he talks to them is much more relaxed. And it's like, Curie is just as easily getting into the same amount of trouble.
Yeah, but Curie's space Jesus.
He doesn't know that. He just thinks she's some epileptic.
Well, and then so after that Caesar, they were like, you can't let her connect to the
Can't do
tree
it.
anymore. And he was like, that's
Like their religion.
impossible. That's never again. Like he was kind of like as he would be like
Right, yeah. That's like a big thing to them.
Like that's like how they talk to Awa. But anyway, so the boys, they all get free except for Kiri's now captured and the littlest girl's captured now. Just them 2. After Jake storms the gates with the entire water tribe and like they kind of kick ass because they have these spears, which makes sense, right? They wouldn't have bows and stuff because that's like spears are way more
Right, you
useful
see some of them that have like harpoon guns.
Yeah.
But they're made for underwater.
Right. And there's these smaller spear things that are designed to be thrown because they have their big like melee weapon spear, but then they have like a smaller spear that's made to be thrown, and they just spear these guys on these boats too, and the whole
They're
boat
getting
gets
messed
cut in half
up.
as well. The whole boat gets cut in half, the whole top half, and the guy's arm goes with it too.
Oh yeah, there was a smaller boat that the main whaling guy was on.
Yeah.
And the special, I don't remember the name of the whale or the species
the
of
one
whales.
fin whale.
Yeah,
The one fin whale.
the bad boy whale.
Yeah. He was the only one there that helped.
Right, yeah.
Whale wise.
And he helped. He ripped.
He did.
destroyed.
Because he's the one who like caused the initial distraction for Jake to charge.
Yeah.
Because he just he saw that his spirit brother was on this boat and he was like, "Nuh-uh."
Yeah, he goes full Free Willy and does like a whole like over the ship and everyone's like watching and
Everyone's
stuff.
shooting him.
And then he just onto the top of the boat.
Oh yeah.
And crushes a bunch of people.
Oh, and he like the main whale guy, like he was like met his match because he kept trying to shoot him with his harpoon and the guy kept just going, "Nah, you're shooting my thick armor."
Yeah.
He wouldn't let the whole point was to like the harpoons. You want to hit him here because that's
On
where
the
there's
soft
armor.
underbelly.
Yeah, but this whale was like, "Nah, see how you do it before."
And it was supposed to also be justified with like this conversation that he had with the marine biologist, the whaler, earlier.
Right.
He says it's possible that these things they're smarter than us.
Right.
He says smarter. It doesn't matter. I'm the one with the harpoon.
Right.
And then the marine biologist also is like, you still have the harpoon, but I was right.
Yeah.
He also dies though.
Yeah. Does he die or he just got thrown off the boat though? So he might be alive.
He might. Yeah, I'm thinking there was a lot of explosions with that boat.
Yeah, true.
And close proximity and wails and
Death.
destruction.
And death.
Thank you
And death.
And-
so much.
And death.
Well, so then Jake's boys get back on the boat to go save the girls, and Jake and his mom Jake and Natiri are on the boat at this point, or no?
I think Natiri might still be in the air.
Yeah. No,
She's laying down air support with arrows and taking helicopters down with a few of the same shots from the beginning of the movie. There was a
Right.
big train thing, and she's shooting arrows at helicopters. One of the shots I know for a fact was the same. It looked slightly more zoomed in.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's smart to reuse it, especially when it's a 3-hour difference.
That one shot's probably like
and also,
hundreds of dollars too to
Yeah.
make of just with manpower. Like
and it's also like, how many different ways are you going to show someone getting shot through a
shot
helicopter?
through a helicopter
It's-
window. Yeah.
It makes sense that it's like the difference would be inside, outside, inside, outside, outside, inside, outside.
Yep.
It's like,
Um,
there you go.
so the boys go get Kiri, or
Kiri and Tok are
maybe the boys go save. No, the boys get everyone off, and then except for and Kiri and Tuck, right? Like,
they cut off all 3 of the girls.
right.
The 3 girls were on the boat.
But then they get
They were able to save 2 of them, but Kiri gets stuck back on the boat
but
somehow.
Tuck's on the boat
Yeah.
as
Right.
well.
So, boys get all of them off, and then, boys and Kiri get all of them off, and then Kiri gets captured, and Tok is captured because, weakest link. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm in handcuffs again. And then there's a gunfight.
Youngest boy doesn't know how to use a gun,
Nope,
but he does kill someone
he does.
just with a spray and pray.
And then the oldest one's like, "Give me that." And
I know
he's
how to
like
use
laying
it.
down, pressing fire. Dad told me how to do this. Run, and then they run and jump off the boat.
Oldest one gets
Just with 2 of them, and the oldest one takes a shot, and he's like I thought it looked like it was gonna be in the leg, but then he gets to the water and it's
Right.
here is where he got shot.
Middle of the chest.
Yeah, there's
like full center mass. And it's like, there was no way that could have happened, but whatever.
So they get him to a little island, and then Jake shows up,
He bleeds
and
out.
Natiri shows up, and it's like an emotional parents losing their child. Natiri's like, okay, now I'm gonna kill this guy. Like, there's no doubt in her mind. Like, it was like very mama bear mode going.
She flips out.
Yeah, and then Jake's like, stay here. And,
Yeah, it's like,
he's
you need to,
"Dad,
like,
let me go,
chill.
Let me
You're-
go with you. And he's like, haven't you done enough? And then he goes off to get the girls, and then we have a really cool
Close
bang,
quarters
bang, boom,
fight.
boom. Jake grips a spear and spears a guy to the ship hole.
And if I'm not, yeah, what is it? He takes the spear, puts it through a dude. Doesn't he flip it over and stab a different guy or
No,
something?
I think he because he stabs it. This is the he kills
No,
some
I remember
people
now.
with it.
He stabs it, holds it up, stabs the bottom side, and the dude slides down. Because I remember him putting it in, but I thought the dude was already on there.
I don't know. It was just badass. I really wanted him to see him fight with the spear more.
Because I already forgot her name. Zoe's character, Natiri.
Yeah.
She shoots a dude with an arrow
Right.
and then pulls it back up. The dude's still on it and fires it out of him into a different guy. So the arrow goes full through that guy and then into a new guy. So if the second
Natiri's
guy,
bow breaks. Natiri's dad's bow breaks as well during this time.
yeah, which leads to the infight with Avatar version of Quaritch
Cordich.
being a much more emotional fight for her.
Yeah. And Jake's he's like, well, let's get this over with then. Because he's like, only one of us is walking away from this.
Yeah,
After, because they've already recovered the girls. All the girls are behind him. He's like, well, let's get this over with. And then they go fight.
yeah, full knife fight.
Yeah. And
There's a whole hostage situation with him having Kiri,
yeah, he has
Quaritch
Kiri.
having Kiri, and Natiri gets Spider.
Right.
And I thought she was actually going to kill Spider.
I didn't think so. But then there was also part of me where well, they're not afraid to kill children, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yep.
I
I knew they couldn't kill Kiri because she's in too much promotional
but
material.
then she cuts him.
Yeah, across the
and
chest.
Then Quaritch is in his moment of weakness, I did that.
Yeah,
Honestly, if it was human version, probably didn't have,
maybe
like
because it's a mental map. It's the same person.
yeah, but they're a little different too, though. They have their differences, I think, as well.
I feel like this version of Quaritch was less ruthless.
I feel like he should have been more
I agree with
because
you there.
he's bigger, stronger, faster, and he's the one that is alive.
Right.
He would be
Yeah.
like, this one's dead. I'm here.
Right.
It may be through a laboratory, but that's some divine intervention.
Well, and then Jake beats him. And
Yeah.
he falls to the bottom of the water, but Jake's under this boat that's capsizing.
With the youngest son who came.
Well,
to
the
help.
The
boy
boy goes to help
after
him.
it fully flips. It's Natiri and Tuck that are stuck, just stuck inside the boat.
Yeah, random area on
And
the
then
boat.
Jake is in this air pocket, and then the kids, Curie and the boy, come to help their parents and Tuck. So the boy goes and gets the dad, and he's like, "It's gonna be a long dive. Relax." He teaches him how to slow his heart rate down, and then Curie comes in with the God.
Yeah, the power of God.
The power of God.
She
in
gets
itself.
these
Gets all these
special
luminescent
lungfish.
fish.
These special lungfish that were introduced earlier in the movie.
Yeah, they provide breath, so she hooks up, but she also brings in the entire glowing yellow fish that guide her to the mom and Tuck.
It's
she's
to
like-
help guide everyone out too.
Right. And she's like, "Hey mom, I'm gonna give you this. Since we know how to free dive, we're good. You take this bladder fish." And then they get out, and we find out the spider was looking for Jake as well, but he finds Cordage, who's
At the
suffocating
bottom. Yeah.
at the bottom, and he saves him.
Because he feels sympathy.
Right, and they get back up to the top, and he's like, "Let's go." And Spider's like, "Heck you, I'm not going."
Yeah, I'm not going
I
with
think
you.
He actually was just like.
He
and just went in
hisses
the
at
water.
him.
I'm just saying those masks are some of the best technology ever.
Yeah,
'Cause
no,
they can
that's
filter oxygen through water and then the oxygen in the air too.
it's perfect.
Like
It's a rebreather and a gas mask.
right, which is rad. But
I mean-
is that the one that has the tracker in it, or is that a different one?
That should be the one that has a tracker in it. So yeah, go figure.
Cordage isn't dead. He's gonna be. I really want him to just be not the big bad for the whole series. Maybe another movie out of him, and then he dies, and then. But what stops him from making more copies of him? since they
Right.
have
If
that
anything,
chip?
have more than one.
That'd be
Raise
cool.
the ante. Have more than one Cordage.
But I want the last movie to be
An army of Cordages.
the last movie. The Avatar 5
It's all Cordage.
is a internal struggle on Pandora. Humans are gone. It's like an internal struggle.
Hear me out. The last movie is called Avatar 5. Oops, all Cordage. Then it just has him like a Captain Crunch pose.
oh my god.
Oops, all berries.
Or maybe it's the Corgening.
The Corgening.
Corgening.
The Avatar series ends. Rises the Corgening.
Corgening.
They bury
Corgening 2.
they bury
Cordage
the
rises.
son. The oldest son is now with the Water tribe. They say your son, your family is just a part of our tribe now because your son lays with my ancestors. Is what the
Yeah.
head guy says, which is kind of a sweet moment. And then don't they leave?
No, they say they stay. No, that's my problem. So you have a lot of directors, and Rian Johnson actually went over this recently, that the way he made his Star Wars movie was he wanted it to have an ending because he thinks there's a problem with storytelling, that these movies need to have an ending. This is an ending right here. This movie does that. And Jake Sully goes through this, and he's like, we are now water people. We now understand the way of the water. And we will live here for the rest of our days. And it's the next movie, they're going to go do something new.
Yeah.
You have these directors like James Cameron that wants to do the new thing and have this film universe and all these movies and sequels, but they keep making the movies with definitive endings
Right.
to a certain degree.
Which the last movie was him being transferred over to the new body.
Right,
That was
which
the
is
ending.
open, but an ending.
It could be an end. It could be open.
And this one could be opened, but it sounds like they're going to stay in the ocean.
Right.
But they're going to expand in new ways because we saw a beachy desert area where the humans have a new place that the monorail system goes to. That was earlier in the movie when Cordage comes back down to Pandora.
Mm.
You see all these new things in all these different areas, and you see all these backgrounds. There's a very mountainous area that looks like it's just mountains. You have this deserty, water-esque-ish area where there's basically just beach, desert, mountains. It's like a straight cliff face. And you know that there's something living over there. And you know that the forest is only so big. And we know that from the first movie, there is grass people. The
plain
horse
people?
riders.
Yeah, the horse.
Like
Well, and we
plains.
know the mountain people. They were all riders. They all rode the banshees. Like that was a big part of their culture.
Those are
was-
called the forest people, though.
No, those were because they went to the mountainside. Like it looked like Ireland. It was just steep drop off into ocean, and they like all their banshees like they jumped off the side of the mountain and they went to fly to be reinforcements.
Do we have to
I
watch
thought they were
Avatar
all-
now?
No, not right now. I'm not watching that today.
They're not They weren't in the forest. They were like
I thought that was part of the forest
Do
people.
we need to find the crab people then?
No.
Just crab.
because
Stop.
there was the plains people that looked like that one episode from Clone Wars with the
Crap.
big almond looking shaping things, and that's where the horse riders were. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I remember the horse
Yeah,
riders.
but
I just don't remember the mountain people.
There was like, they weren't called mountain people specifically, but they were like a different tribe that lived up high, and they all rode banshees. Like that was like they didn't have
Okay.
other animals. I just want there to be like an Underdark society, like people who live in the earth and they have like gray skin.
And they're blind.
I could take or leave blind.
I mean, imagine them having just really massive, disgusting ears, though, like a bat.
That could be a thing.
Yeah, they have like poor eyesight, so they can still see.
One of the
but it's
best
just
things
bad.
that James Cameron did though in this movie is the fact that they evolved differently. I love that because it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Right.
They evolved to have thicker tails. They evolved to have thicker forearms.
They evolved
it
to have
makes
webbed hands.
it makes sense.
Their eyes also blink differently.
Yeah, they blink sideways because they have I think they just have an interior eyelid like an alligator or something.
Right.
God, I love this movie. I think this is my favorite.
It's easily a better representation of where I wish sci-fi movies would be right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But every so often you get something like Blade Runner 2049. And it's just boring. It looks beautiful,
Yeah,
but
it
just
looks
boring.
amazing.
Blade Runner 2049. And this movie is no short of that.
No, this movie.
There was actually, James Cameron did this really interesting thing with the editing of the movie in terms of frame rate and how it was made. So normally it's at like 48 frames per second,
right.
but during action sequences it's lowered to 24, so that way you don't get a headache while watching.
GG.
And that's why a lot of people were saying that it's really weird. The action scenes seemed like they slowed down. And he was like, "Oh, they did.
They did.
I thought of that. You're welcome." And like the way he presented it was kind of like an a-hole, but at the same time it's like that's actually a really cool idea.
So wait, he cut the frame rate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that way it was easier on your eyes. That's why I thought the
What?
train scene looked weird, because it looked like it started to go into slow motion, but instead it was just the frame rate going down.
Whoa.
A lot of people didn't notice, but there's a lot of people that did notice, and they were like, "Why does the movie look weird?"
Whoa. That's freaking. That's cracked. That's crazy.
I kind of wish more movies would do that now.
Bro.
Because that's one of my problems watching Marvel movies is sometimes the action starts going too fast, and it's like, now hold on here, I can't see what's going on.
Because they're just shooting a 60, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So normally the movie itself is also slightly slower than you'd find some other movies,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. Which I could be. I don't know much about frame rate of movies now.
Well, honestly, yeah.
I mean, for a while the standard was 24, and then
Right. The first
Hobbit,
one's entirely in 24.
And
Oh,
then
no,
the-
it is in 48. Sorry.
and then the Hobbit did. I think the Hobbit was one of the first ones to do 60 full through, right?
I think so.
Yeah, like one of the Hobbit movies.
Which is also another reason on why those movies CGI should be apprehended
What
as
if
being some
what
of
if
the
there's
best.
a tribe? So you know how it was a big deal for him to ride that big red one?
Yeah.
What if there's a tribe where that's their standard mount?
Oh, the big ones?
The big red, yeah, like maybe that's like a mountain tribe. Like they live up high, so they have a bigger wingspan. They can fly higher, and they're bigger, so their lungs are bigger.
They just have large chests.
Yeah.
And they're thick.
I'm here for it.
Anyway, guys, I think we're out of time for this week's episode of the podcast. Please
Thank
make sure to leave a comment down below telling us what you think of this movie. I think we all pretty much enjoyed this movie
What?
through and through.
What is the secret word?
Secret word? Navi. Spell that.
Navi.
Navi.
I think it's like N''A''V.
N-A''VI, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Um,
Which I could be.
I think the word.
This is the
split.
problem I'm referring to.
Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Please make sure to like if you haven't already. Please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't, we are on Spotify. For those if you that may be listening on Spotify or not.
Hi.
So shout out to Spotify listeners. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
I was going to say, remember to check out the holiday special.
Oh yeah, check out the holiday special. It's
Yeah.
great.
Bye-bye.
There you go. Now it's bye-bye time.